Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Game Design Archive with Edward and Ludwig.
Hello.
Hello, Ludwig. Today we're gonna talk about graphics.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ludwig.
Yeah, so if you've been following the news this week, you'll have heard about the brand new epic technology unveiled by NVIDIA called DLSS 5. Which is very controversial, right? Because it seems to be just like, oh yeah, you can have an AI filter on your game now and so on. And we will get into that, but this got us thinking this week. Maybe we should discuss graphics in general, right?
Yeah.
Because there's
But it is
there's
related to this
Yes.
trend, right, as well,
Mhm.
which is,
Yeah, because there are a lot of things that like AAA and AA games do that's really weird.
yeah,
And we wanted to like shine some light on them.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess we can start off by like looking back in a way. So like previously, like let's say the early 2000s, early 2010s or whatever, graphics, how do you say this? Like graphics got better very fast, right? And so AAA studios relied on that fact to sell their games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see where I'm going here?
Yeah.
It's like, for example, a really good example is like Battlefield 3, right? When Battlefield 3 was revealed, like a very big part of that was like, oh yeah, it's super cool graphically, like it looks so good, like way better than any game that's ever been released before and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And not only Battlefield did that, but like all AAA games do that or did that. The same with like Doom, like the remakes and stuff like that. But I guess the point I want to make at least is that, as we have gotten better at graphics, progress has slowed down as it usually does. And it seems like AAA studios are like
I
trying
don't know
to...
if it has slowed down. I think, so if you go back, right, to early 3D,
Mhm.
for example, obviously the polygon count is very low, so like the models look very... not very beautiful, in my opinion. But aside from that, there was a lot more artist involvement going on because you didn't you had to, for example, draw the like where the light hit stuff and on the textures and stuff, right? You had to draw them in a pleasing way, whereas these days all of that is done by code, I guess. I don't know what word to use, right? But you're like,
Yeah, lighting and stuff.
Yeah, lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying that lighting is bad, but my point is that a lot of the like, because of the limitations of the hardware, I guess, there was a lot of like artistic expression or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
In how they tried to make it look. I mean, they didn't always try to make it look photorealistic, right? But a lot of games, even back then, tried to make it in quotation marks photorealistic, right?
Yeah,
But
I mean,
it was
there was a point in time.
Focused interpretation, right? That's my point. So some of them actually aged very well compared to a lot of the modern stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. Well, sort of to like clarify what I said before, like we're reaching a point of like diminishing returns, right? Where it's like, even though, like if you look at a game from 5 years ago, it doesn't look much better today, right? Or it might even have looked better 5 years ago, right? Whereas if you compare a game from like 2005 to 2010, that was like quite a big leap, right?
Yeah.
But like obviously there's been like progress in techniques under the hood and so on. So like one of the big, well, it's not new, right? But like volumetric lighting, like that's like fairly new, like the last 5 years. Like
I mean,
for widespread, but like for widespread adoption.
Stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when people started using that, but yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so like this is sort of related to what you said, where it's like it feels to me like we've reached this point where there are diminishing returns, and like getting better graphics takes more and more like computing power. And it feels like AAA studios are trying to brute force it rather than, as you said, rely on like artistic choices, right? So they're trying to brute force photorealism when they can't really do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, at least not yet.
Yeah, exactly. And so like one really, really good example of this, or well, it's actually several good examples, because like all games these days are made in Unreal Engine 5, right? But like the very good example is the generic Unreal Engine 5 game, which I think most people kind of know what I mean when I say that. But like a good example of that would be like Clair Obscur, which like when you look at it, you can see like, oh yeah, that game is made in Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah.
And I personally think that's like style of graphics is incredibly ugly, and I think you agree, right?
Yeah. I don't like that style.
And
not saying you can't make beautiful games in Unreal, by the way. It's just the stock look or whatever you want to call it, right?
Exactly. It's the stock Unreal Engine, like AA/low budget AAA that looks really, really ugly. Because like if you look at something like, isn't Arc Raiders made in Unreal as well? Unreal?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and that looks really good, right?
So.
Yeah. And that game looks really good. So like,
I mean,
obviously you can make a good looking game.
I don't know. Like maybe you're more into photorealistic graphics.
No, I don't think so.
Than I am, because like for me it's such a huge waste of resources to go for it at all, in my opinion. Right? If you think about, like you said, it's not necessarily only diminishing returns. It's that there is so insane, like the amount of details to go from where we are in photorealism right now to actually looking photorealistic is like a lot, right?
Yeah.
To make that look good in motion with like all the, because how should I say, like imagine how uncanny it would look like if you literally had literally photorealistic graphics, but like the animations, you're like sliding around and stuff, right? That's gonna look uncanny, literally, right? It's not gonna work. So you need to have some sort of like what do you say, like there needs to be some sort of buffer there, right? For the like so you need to let the imagination do a part of it, so that like if it's too close to reality, then your brain is like, no, that's not reality, right? It gets like angry at you, because not angry, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's like nope, that's weird, right? Whereas if it's like, I mean, you can take like cartoons, like I don't know, like Mickey Mouse or something, right? That's like, if you take the old ones, there's like stick drawings, right? And it's like a paper thing that someone's, right, flipping through. But because it's like so simple, right? It's easier for your brain to imagine that no, that's actually like a Mickey Mouse, right? And he's moving around and whatever, right? Whereas if it, I mean, even thinking about that would be really weird if there was, if a mouse man, photorealistic mouse
a mouse with arms and legs,
so it, like exactly. It doesn't even, it's just weird and creepy, right? So my point, I don't know, I didn't really did I have a point? I mean, think... my point was technically that that to get it to be perfect is such a huge amount of work. Why even bother? Because to me, I care way more, like photorealism is probably the lowest thing on the scale I care about, right? I care about gameplay a lot, and I care about the setting a lot, and just at some point I even care about the story, right?
Yeah.
But and I care about graphics. I care a lot about graphics, but I do not care about photorealism at all, right? That's completely unimportant. And it's also the most expensive part, right?
Yeah.
So there is a huge amount of money wasted, in my opinion, to make the games look the way they do, whereas, you know, I mean, there's a ton of different art styles, right? So I'm not gonna... But you get what I'm saying, right? Whereas, like, then you can see on a lot of games that are very successful, right? Like, for example, multiplayer. Like look at Valve, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Valve tried to be, like, super photorealistic at one point with, like, Half-Life 2, maybe, right? Not super photorealistic, but you get what I mean. They were going for the realism.
I mean, for the time, it looked good, right?
Yeah. But then I feel like somewhere after that, they sort of realized that it wasn't worth going for it. Would you agree, right? They started doing, like, Team Fortress 2 and, like... Left 4 Dead is also a bit stylized, and then you have CS:GO is also a bit cartoony, right? It's not photorealistic. I would say, at least. Maybe cartoon is the wrong word, but I think you get what I'm saying. It's not.
Well, it's
definitely stylized. It's not photorealistic.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Especially like the characters are very stylized and like have weird proportions and stuff.
Yeah, but I think that helps the game because the way your characters move in that game, right, is very unnatural, right? Where it's like you're very like you're pivoting on your character is rotating, right, and it doesn't look realistic at all, and you need the sort of not realistic look to make that make sense, because if it looked more photorealistic, it would look weird, you know, because you just spin, right? I mean, maybe your legs move, but it's like
they do like
school,
a big
right?
weird leg animation thing.
Yeah, and you can't change that, but that would break the gameplay, right?
Yeah.
If you started doing the stupid like modern shooter games thing, that's like makes it feel really awful to move around.
Yeah. Or if they do like in our favorite example, Dragon Age Inquisition, where you can't, where you like run in circles instead of pivot because there's like so much animations and inertia and stuff like that. It looks absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But I think.
That, sorry for interrupting, but I want to make one more point clear. I'm not saying that they shouldn't use some of these modern techniques, because lighting, for example, is super important and it makes stuff look really fucking cool. But it doesn't have to be photorealistic lighting, right? For example. Yeah. Stuff like that, right? Like we will, maybe you want to bring up that later, but I'm just going to bring it up quickly. Like one game I know you think look really cool is, help me with the name.
No Rest for the Wicked.
Yeah, No Rest for the Wicked, by the guys that made the
Ori games.
Ori games, yeah. I mean,
Moon Studios, I think?
Yes, I think so. That game... I agree with you. Looks really nice, right? And that's 3D, and it's utilizing like lighting and physics and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, most games have physics. You get what I mean, like grass physics or whatever, right? But it's not photorealistic, right? And I mean, to be fair, that art style was probably pretty expensive because
yes.
But still, like if that's what you're putting the money in, then I am more, you know, I feel that feels more because it looks nicer, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think one thing that's like especially interesting about No Rest for the Wicked is that like, because if you look at old games from like the early 2000s, one really common thing that made them look kind of weird is that they had way too much bloom, right?
Yeah, from the like 2010s.
Yeah. Oh, okay, was it that late? Holy crap!
I mean, it's like the military shooter era, right? It's like the PlayStation 3 or whatever, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Well, wasn't too much bloom a bit before that? Because military shooters were like all brown and
before
stuff.
That.
Yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, anyways, my point is that like No Rest for the Wicked has so much bloom. Like everything is bloomy, but it looks really, really good. Yeah. So it's like it just showcases the point that like if you know what you're doing, it doesn't have to make sense. It's like the blade of grass is like glowing from the bloom, but it's like it looks really good, so although like you kind of accept it.
In the bloom haters' defense, some of the games from that are like the sky.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it's like it's not what they're doing that's wrong. It's the way they're doing it, right? Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to go back quickly to what you mentioned about like diminishing returns and animations and stuff, because Our favorite, Jonathan Blow, has like a rant on this. I think it was Jonathan Blow at least.
Oh, that's
about like facial animations in video games, right?
Oh,
or
right.
like
Yeah. The like dialogue thing. Yeah. That's a good point.
So it's so basically paraphrasing here, he basically says that like it makes no sense that like video games are trying to like when a character is speaking, they're like doing the zoom in thing that like movies do, where they're focusing on the face of the character, because facial animations in video games are really, really bad.
Yeah.
And like
I mean, compared to a real person.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what he says. Like in a movie, you like zoom in on the character because there's like an actor who has like spent his entire life training for this moment to like make a believable and moving like whatever acting moment thing. And like, so that's why you zoom in on his face, and it's like really emotional and really cool and stuff. But like in a video game where it's like a like completely flat face, sorry, with like a really shitty like moving mouth animation.
Insert my face is tired.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like it looks really, really bad in comparison. And I think that that's kind of related to your point about like why even do the like zoomed in on the face movie stuff, right? It's
can I bring up a point on that? Because it's so good that you brought it up, because like that I can just like sort of prove my point that I made earlier about costs, right? With your point. So one company that gets this, in my opinion, and people give them shit for it, but I think they are 100% correct in what they're doing, is From Software. Because when you talk to NPCs, you're just, nothing changes with the camera. They're just talking. There's no animation. There's literally nothing going. Like they're not moving at all. Their mouth is not moving. They're not. Maybe they move. Maybe there's like a move their hand animation. But in the older ones, like they're just standing as if nothing has changed, right?
Yeah.
And I bet like if they would like, I don't even want to think about how much it would cost for them to like hire mocap artists and like do the facial camera stuff just to get some voice lines for some of their NPCs, right? It would be insanely expensive.
Yeah.
And it's just completely wasted. And you can see where all that energy went. It went into the gameplay instead, right? Because those games have pretty good gameplay, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah.
So the thing that because I have actually seen people say that, oh no, they should, this is like they're behind the times, they should add this, and I'm like, no, they should not add this. It's a complete waste of money. Just keep doing gameplay stuff, right? Also, since like a lot of their games are with like knights that wear helms and stuff, so it doesn't even matter because you can't see their face, right?
Yeah.
They're also, by the way, I'm just gonna praise From Software all day again. Sorry, like they also kind of get this thing, because if you look at their games, like the older ones have very like nice art styles. Sure, I mean some of it goes more towards the more realistic style, right? But it's still like very stylized. If you look at like Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, right? Then I would say for like Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, Bloodborne looks good, but like I feel like they were struggling a bit when they went to the like what do you say, like the next generation. Like they struggled to find their art, like they upgraded their tech stack, right? For the PlayStation 4, but it doesn't look quite right. There's like some stuff with the lighting and stuff, but then Elden Ring actually, I mean, even though I don't like the gameplay as much, it looks really good. Like it's sort of it looks almost like a painting, right? It's super beautiful actually.
Yeah.
So they've like found their spot there now with that.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned before about like, what if they mocapped, and like how much would that cost?
Yeah.
It's like,
and to be fair, maybe they do some mocap. I don't know. Like for the animations of the weapons and stuff. I probably. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't checked. But yeah, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, but like so it kind of ties back to the original point where it's like, if we go back to like the year 2000 or whatever, making a big leap in graphics doesn't cost that much, right? It's like adding like some, I don't know what they added in the early 2000s, adding some like slightly more realistic lighting calculation. It's like you need a programmer who knows how to do it, and like that's it basically. But like with a lot of these modern things, like they are so expensive in comparison to what they bring that it makes no sense to have them whatsoever. And I think one good example of this is like ray tracing, like real-time ray tracing.
Yes, you're talking resource expensive now, not money.
Yeah,
expensive.
well, both.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, ray tracing in this case is probably resource expensive, but then it's also like there are also money expensive things.
Yeah.
But like it's like because it's like sure, real-time ray traced games do look better, but they don't look that much better, right? And now that I think about it, that's not necessarily true.
If the hardware was like they could do it, because it's super duper ultra expensive to ray trace stuff. But these
that's true.
the RTX cards and stuff, if I like from my limited understanding, they can't like ray trace the entire scene, for example, right?
No,
I mean, the closest thing, because sorry for interrupting you again. Like a good example of ray tracing is what is it called? Tuxedo Labs. Oh no.
Teardown?
Yes, Teardown.
Yeah.
But that technically does ray marshing, right? It doesn't use the ray tracing stuff. It just uses like fancy GPUs calculations, right? But that game looks good. Like, sure, it's blocks, but it looks really good. And that's like, that is partly because like ray traced lighting it looks really nice.
Yeah, it does.
But then again, it's also got some like stylized stuff, right, with the blocks and stuff. So it's got its own style as well.
Yeah. But the point that I wanted to make is that there are a lot of games that don't have real-time ray tracing that look better than a lot of the games that do, right? And so it's like it kind of goes back to what I said about the bloom thing. It's like how you use it matters a lot. So like in Teardown, they use it really well, so it looks really good.
Also, it's
but
not
like,
using the hardware, right? It's not using the
but then like if you look at a lot of like modern Unreal Engine stock games, as we call them, they look absolutely atrocious, despite having all of these like super expensive, fancy technology things, and so on. And it doesn't make any sense to me.
But I think like to defend, not to defend. How should I say this? Like, I think it, at least in my head, makes sense that these like double layer, or what I call it, games look so bad because they don't have the budget to do like you said, they're trying to make it look photorealistic. But then they don't have the budget of like Ubisoft or whatever, so they don't have the mocap, they don't have the whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so it just looks bad, right? Because they need to spend more money than they can to make it look okay. And even in that case, I would argue like a lot of games, even and at the higher end, struggle with this. Like I talked to you about this before, like, right, where like in a lot of modern games, in my opinion, nature, like environments like mountains and forests and stuff, look really fucking good, like the photorealistic ones, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that the like technology for doing the, like, I should say technology, like people have like thought about that a lot, right? And there is ways to make fast nature environments, right? Like generate them or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like then you'll have the characters, right? And they look so effing ugly, right? Like the character models in comparison. So it's like it doesn't look good, and they'll have like we usually call it like Unreal Engine hair, right, or whatever. Like it's not only Unreal Engine that has it, but it's so ugly. It's like glossy, like paper hair thing, right? It's the ugliest thing ever. And like that's most games actually suffer from that, I would say, in the AAA space to some extent. Not all of them. I would say those that have like slightly less wet shaders actually look like, because there's I don't know if
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, but it is like Unreal Engine has always been a bit wetter than like, some of the
like
other
glossier,
shaders.
more plasticky.
Yeah. It's just the look there, right? The way they calculate light and stuff. Like a good comparison would be like Source Engine games, right? They're very dry, like extremely dry looking. So like there is funny enough, there is still like stylization in the like realistic shaders and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, continue.
So like, well, I mentioned all this like ray tracing stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting because like, I think, how do I say this? Like, I think AAA studios are suffering from their like obsessions with photorealistic graphics.
Yes, for sure.
Graphics, not only because it like costs a lot of money to do, but also because they limit the people that can buy the game, right?
That's true, actually. Yeah.
And so I think it's very interesting because like I had a friend who like started working at a AAA studio, who do like big graphic stuff, like does a game that's known for looking good, and he was like he was, I don't remember exactly what it was, but he was like on some team responsible for performance or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh yeah, it's super cool because we get like the latest RTX
590 or whatever,
50 billion trillions or whatever. And I'm like, wait, if you're on the performance team, shouldn't you like have a crappy computer, right? Because that conversation made me kind of realize, oh, that's why games are running so poorly these days. It's because the game developers are running these games on like these like super up-to-date high-tech rigs, whereas like the average gamer doesn't, right? It's like,
but like not to like I 100% agree with what you're saying, but I think there's like complications there as well, right? Because it's, I think to give some developers credit, right? I think they do realize it sometimes, but because everyone on the company is running on good, like decent hardware, it becomes hard to convince the investment for optimization, right, to happen, like to some, like, I don't know, like whoever is responsible for who is doing what, right?
Yeah, because it's very easy to like convince someone that like, oh yeah, we should add this graphics thing because the game looks better.
Yeah, and
then you show a picture and it looks better.
Whatever, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But then it's like, no, it's not fine, because like if you look at the stats, it's like your company's PCs is like the, you know, top 5% of everyone or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or something. Like the worst PC you have at your company is the like in top 5% of the PCs that are gonna run your game or something. I don't know. That's probably optimistic, even that, right?
Yeah,
it's probably even worse.
Probably like top 1.
Yeah. So it's like yeah,
and I think it's very interesting because like if you look at, you know, you mentioned them before, Valve.
Yeah.
They very clearly understand this, right?
Yeah.
Because Valve games are very, 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 very popular. Like compared to other games, like if you look at Dota or CS or whatever, and they are especially popular in like poorer countries, right?
I mean, they're popular there.
Well, they're popular, exactly. Yeah, so they're popular in poorer countries and rich countries.
Yeah.
But like, if you look at a lot of modern AAA games, they are like exclusively popular in rich countries, right?
Yeah.
Like in the Western world or whatever. And I find it very interesting because like, it seems to me like if we take, you know, Doom the Dark Ages, for example, that's like a recent game that has like a bunch of, because, you know, id Software, they're like top of the line graphic stuff, and they do all the ray tracing and everything, and so like you need like hardware ray tracing and stuff to play their games, right? Because they utilize all the tech, and like imagine if they didn't, how many more games they would sell. And like imagine, I don't think personally, I might be wrong, but I don't think personally turning those things off would like what I'm trying to say is that I don't think the people that care about graphics, like care about all the newest RTX whatever DLSS thing is, are like numerous enough to like outweigh the benefit of like everyone being able to play your game, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And so like it's very interesting to see like AAA studios chasing, because
one thing there as well, right? Is that's getting worse as well, right? And it's gotten worse. Like it's bad now, right? Like if you compare to, like obviously everyone is not buying new PCs all the time, but like if we compare now to 10 years ago, right? People were buying way more upgrades 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah. But like PC parts are way more expensive nowadays, right?
Yeah, and it's not worth it either, right? Like you're getting like the benefits you're getting are so small, right?
Yeah.
In terms of
and the prices are way higher, so it's like so like me, I'm actually a pretty good example because I could probably afford to upgrade my computer, but I don't, and I like I was trying to play the I was looking into the like what's it called, the id Software Indiana Jones game, or Machine Games, was it? I don't remember. Because it looked like they were doing some interesting stuff like for a AAA studio.
Yeah, I agree.
And I realized that oh crap, I can't play this game because like I literally physically can't play this game because my computer doesn't have like the hardware ray tracing stuff.
The RTX.
And the thing is, I'm not gonna upgrade my computer to play that game. That's not worth the money, right? So it's like it's very very weird how they prioritized, I guess, is my point.
Yeah, it is weird, but I think that's just like what do you say? Like it's something that they like picked up over time, right? And they haven't really grasped that that's not reality anymore or whatever, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. Because it's like that was a winning strategy 20 years ago, right? It's like people are gonna upgrade and we need to keep up so that our games look the coolest, so that people buy our games, right?
Yeah.
But that's not reality now, right?
Yeah.
So
well, I do think
like I think another like the consoles, right? Even in the console space, right? I haven't looked at the numbers, right? But I'm pretty sure that there is way more people active on like I don't even remember what Xbox calls their boxes anymore, but like Nintendo Switch 1 and PlayStation 4 and stuff, right? Compared to the new stuff, right? Like the 5 and there's almost like, sure, there are some new games that only run on the PS5 or whatever, but it's so expensive, right?
Oh wait, or like PS5 games backwards compatible with PS4, or?
No, I mean the other way it is, right? You can play PS4 games on PS5.
Yeah, okay.
But my point is like there's a lot of companies still releasing PS4 games, right?
Oh, there are, okay.
Yeah, I mean not necessarily AAA games, right? But there are companies that like indie games or whatever are still released a lot of the time on PS4.
Okay. That's interesting.
Because like there is no reason to not do it, because you can like you get the if you have a customer on PS5, they can still play it, right? So if you're not utilizing the hardware, it doesn't matter, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know how. I'm pretty sure the adoption rate is not as good as it was on the PS4 era, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because the difference between PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 is insane, right? It's way more powerful. But and you could argue PS5 is way more powerful than PS4 as well, I guess. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's used for anything useful. I don't know.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think also like the like PS5 generation also lost like a lot of people to like people who didn't buy any console at all.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I mean. Like people, it just people didn't adopt the new stuff. I guess it's because it's so expensive, so they just either buy nothing and stay on the PS4 or go PC instead. Because
that was one of my points. So like, you know, I had like I was playing games on consoles up until like the PS4 era, right?
Yeah.
And then when the like PS5 and Xbox One S or whatever it's called were released, I like moved on to PC completely.
Yeah.
Like I was still playing PC games, like both PC and console games, and then that era I stopped playing console games and only played PC games.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people did that too.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, you know, just from people around me, you know, everyone used to play console games. No one I know does that anymore.
Yeah, and I actually want to bring up a point there that I find really funny, because I'm gonna blame developers for the console stuff, because I think that the console manufacturers are listening too much to the developers in this case. Because I think what's going on is that the customers don't actually want the good hardware, like they don't care. But the companies, they want it because they want to push graphics, right?
Yeah.
So they're demanding from the console manufacturers, please make better hardware so we can make better games. But that's not what the customers want, right? Or whatever, right? They want affordable hardware.
Yeah,
that's
they want
the point
a piece of shit.
They don't like, they want the cheapest thing they can get, and then the developers have to suffer to make stuff look good and run well on that hardware. Right?
Yeah.
That's the entire point of a console. It's not to give you the beefiest thing ever so the developers have a good time, right? The point of a console is that the developers have a hard time, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because if you go back in time, I think I'm not 100% sure on the details, but I'm pretty sure like Nintendo, for example, like when they started out, like way back, right? They used like they bought like some cheap it was like calculator hardware or something, right? That no one that they couldn't sell because they didn't need it anymore, and they made consoles out of it, and it was like even for the time garbage, right? But they could make cheap consoles out of it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that is actually one of the reasons why the Switch did so well, like the first Switch, because it wasn't too expensive at the time, right?
Yeah.
The second one is actually insane, in my opinion, because it's like not that good and it's as expensive as like a PlayStation 5, all right?
Yeah.
Not exactly anymore, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, oh my god, the Switch 2 is insanely expensive. Yeah, and then it's funny because all the developers are complained about Switch 1, right? But it was like, I mean, sure, some of the games ran poorly on it, but like, I mean, a lot of indie games did really well there, for example, right?
Yeah.
And also, I think devs are, sorry for speaking all the time, I just want to say one final thing, and there is this like I've seen that about the Switch, right, where it's like, oh, the Switch hardware is so bad, and like, it's like, first of all, none of this hardware is bad. Like, all of this hardware is insanely good, right? They can run so much more than old stuff. Like, it's ridiculous how bad modern games are running compared to the hardware they're running on, right? But people complain about that all the time, right? Where it's, oh, the Switch hardware is so bad. Well, it's like, no, it's like developers are just lazy. Okay, that's it. I mean, lazy might not be the right word. Some people get angry when you say lazy. They don't get the money to do the thing or whatever. I don't care. My point is that, like, these games that are running poorly, that are not photorealistic on the Switch, they're not running poorly because the Switch is bad. They're running poorly because they're poorly optimized. For whatever reason that is, right? Sorry, that was my long rant. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, I haven't looked up any numbers on this, right? But like, compared to both the PS5 and the latest Xbox, wow, that's such a good sign that they picked a good name for the latest Xbox. That we say the latest Xbox instead of what it's called.
Yeah, you care, I don't know. Xbox is dead.
Yeah, but yeah, like, the Switch seems like the, in recent memory, only successful console, basically, to me.
Yeah.
Because it, like, actually carved out a niche, and like, yeah, it just seemed to have succeeded.
Yeah.
Whereas other consoles haven't.
Yeah. I mean, also, there's no, sorry for talking again, but there's no reason, like, like we said, oh, your PlayStation 5 is basically as strong as your PC now. Okay, so why should I buy something like encrypted on your shitty DRM hardware that I'm not gonna be able to download in 5 years because you're gonna turn off your eShop? Versus I go to Gaben, right? And I buy a game and I mean, sure, maybe it's not gonna be up forever, but like I can download games I bought 15 years ago on Steam, right? I cannot download games I bought 15 years ago from like Nintendo, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah. Also, by the way, I can run it on any hardware I want because it's not fucking locked to some shitty hardware, right? It's like, yeah, you want to run it on Linux, you can run it on Linux. You want to run it on a Steam Deck, you can run it on a Steam Deck. You want to run it on your Windows PC, you can run it on your Windows PC. They don't care, right? You just bought the software, right? It's not locked to anything. And I think, I don't know if people care about that, but I do, right? And I think to some extent people care about that, right? Because it's like, especially the Steam Deck, right? That's gotten a bit more popular, right? So it's like, well, I can play it on my TV and on my Steam Deck or whatever, right? I mean, Switch can play on TV, whatever. Off topic, go back. Your turn.
Well, no, I was kind of done.
Yeah.
So, unless you have something more to say about this, maybe we could move on.
Sure.
So, maybe we should start with like what inspired this video first, right? The DLSS 5 stuff.
Yeah.
Or well, everything related to it. So DLSS in general. So it's because it has like, I guess it's 3 parts now. So it's upscaling, and there's frame gen, and then there's this new like AI filter thing, right?
Yeah.
And I want to start with frame gen because I think that's the easiest one to roast because I think it's objectively bad. So for those of you that don't know, frame gen is essentially that, well, you hear it in the name, frame generation. So it's like AI frame generation. So like if you have 30 FPS or something, your graphics card is gonna generate frames from like is it interpolation? I don't know how it works exactly.
Exactly how they do it.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, whatever. So it's like they look at a frame that already exists and then they generate like an in-between frame from that. And so all of a sudden you have 60 FPS, but it's like all fake frames, right?
Yeah.
Because the frames weren't actually rendered and they're not like actually based on the game or whatever. They're based on the previous frame. And the main reason that this is bad is, of course, input lag, right?
Double,
so
by the way. It's not just because you get the input lag from the delay from the interpolation and from the fact that you're running the game at 30 FPS. Like the calling is slower. Yeah, so it's turbo bad.
Yeah. Yeah, because it you know, you sort of mentioned it like people don't like it when you call developers lazy.
Yeah.
But I find frame generation to actually be like just indisputably lazy because it's literally we can't bother to make sure your game runs, so we just like generate fake frames.
Yeah.
And like that sort of philosophy, like even discounting the fact that it creates a worse like play experience with the input lag and all that, like that sort of philosophy is like really scary to me because like what's next then, right? If we fake the frames, like,
I mean,
why do we even have the graphics?
Next.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. I guess, yeah. But like, yeah, this whole philosophy of like, I'm not,
filters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like, we're not gonna optimize our game. We're gonna like just not do that, and then we're gonna fake that it's optimized. Yeah. It's like, no, actually, like have some, what's it called? Have some pride in your craft or whatever, and like actually make sure your game runs well.
Yeah,
is my philosophical point, I guess.
Yeah, I actually hate the other part, the upscaling a lot as well, because I don't know, maybe this is like a eye thing. Maybe people have like different eyes, but
Mm-hmm.
for me, like the details in the like on stuff. So like why would you upscale, right, to begin with, right? You would upscale because you can like put texture quality and lighting quality on high, right? But then render it at 720p and upscale it to 1080p or whatever, like 4K.
Or 4K even, yeah.
And like I don't know. Again, maybe it's an eye thing. Maybe it's just people don't have taste at all. But for me, a game looks way better for me if it's ugly, but it's a high resolution. Like resolution is the one thing, like the most important thing for something to look like pleasant or whatever. Like like yeah. So basically, like a game. Like let's say we take a PS3 game, right? The biggest reason for a PS3 game looking bad to me is because it's like 720p, right?
Yeah, 100% agree.
So when you upscale that and render it at like 1080, 1080 is good enough for me. I don't know. Maybe some people want more. I mean, it looks better on 2K or 4K, right? But like 10, yeah, I whatever. It doesn't matter, right? That does more for me, right, than the like running it at 720 with like higher resolution textures wouldn't do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
And when you upscale it, that's sort of what you're doing, right? You're running it at 720, so it gets all like blurry and blobby and stuff, right? Because there's actually not enough detail, right? So like I don't know. That's like one of the weird things for me, because the frame gen I understand, because like that's like they can run the game at half speed, right? But the upscaling, I think it looks ugly, right? And I guess maybe there is sort of a sweet spot where you can like, if you upscale like 5% or something, right? Maybe it looks fine. But still, like, why bother, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because like, if you look at like old YouTube videos of old games, you know, they are often in like the resolution that the game was actually run at, right? They oftentimes look really, really bad, but like when you actually play them. So I had this experience when I played Deus Ex, because I had watched like some old videos of it, and I was like, wow, this game looks really bad, and like those videos were low resolution, right? But then I actually played the game on like fairly recently, like, okay, no, like 5 to 10 years ago, but still like fairly recently. And it was like 1080p and everything. And like the game didn't look that bad in 1080p, right? Yeah. It's like obviously the models are a bit blocky and stuff, but like it doesn't hurt to look at. Yeah. What hurts to look at is the low resolution stuff, as you said. So yeah, it's very I 100% agree. But I think the main problem with upscaling is movement, right? Because I've actually played
movement. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I've played games that have like with this on, and I don't think you could turn it off actually, like was forced.
Nice.
Yeah, and what I noticed was that like when you move the camera quickly, like everything just blurs together. It looks absolutely atrocious. Nice. Like there's so much ghosting. There's so much like it looks absolutely terrible. Although I don't think it's only the upscaling thing. There's like something else. Maybe it's like anti-aliasing. There's some weird
motion blur.
Yeah, maybe. But no, it's like it's not only that it's blurry. It's that everything like blurs together. Like things look incorrect, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's probably doing something like over a lot of frames to like approximate the resolution stuff, right? So it gets it messes it up when you move, right? Probably. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works.
But yeah, the sort of main point I wanted to make with this is I want to compare this to I don't know what the correct term is, like Unreal Engine texture loading.
Oh, yes.
Do you kind of get what I mean? So like, you know, when they kind of half load the texture and then after a while it pops in and you see it visibly, it's like, not only Unreal Engine does it, it's very common in like most AAA games, right? It's a very common technique. And the point I want to make about this is that like all of these things are like done to basically they are like, they are making the worst case scenario worse in order to make, or sorry, it's the other way around. So they're trying to make the best case scenario where everything like this works.
Yeah.
At the expense of the worst case scenario,
Yeah.
right? So with the texture loading thing, it's like, yeah, when the texture doesn't pop in, it works well, right? But when it does, it looks absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, no, that
And
one is like complete. I mean,
yeah. What were you gonna say?
I mean, I was gonna say completely undefensible, but I'm assuming there are instances where it's used in a way where it doesn't, where you don't see it, right? Like it's loaded in the distance or something.
Yeah.
But like, especially for like like a lot of Unreal games or whatever have this thing where, you know, you'll open the menu and look at the character and it's like all low res because it's not loading the, you know, level of detail stuff, and it's like, oh my god, what are you doing? It looks so fucking ugly. It's so bad. Or like a cutscene starts and it like pops in the fucking, oh
exactly.
my god. Like I don't know how someone can ship, because that's like, oh.
No, yeah. Well, that's sort of the point I want to make. It's like, it seems like a lot of these things are sacrificing like the worst case scenario, as I said. So it's like, the worst case scenario is that, you know, everything, like the textures are like super low res and then they pop in and become more high res and stuff like that. Yeah. And like, that ruins the experience more for me than the best case being good. Yeah. Right? Because like, there are games that look good that do this, right? And like, yeah, sure, those games look good when they look good, but when they look bad, they look absolutely terrible, and that's like worse than the fact that they look good when they look good, if that makes sense.
I guess it's like what you're saying is like, you would rather have half the detail all the time.
All the time, yes, exactly.
Because it would be less
than the weird.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying. So yeah, it's very weird how they excuse that. But yeah, then there's this whole DLSS 5 thing. Holy crap. I
mean, I don't even know if we need to say anything about that, because people seem to not, you know.
Yeah, it looks bad. And it's not much deeper than that. Like, it actually just looks crap.
Yeah, I don't even know, like, I tried to look at the images. I'm not even sure it's like generating the, like, lighting and stuff correctly. No,
it doesn't. Like, I think it's actually just like generic AI image generation on top of that. Yeah. Because like, yeah, as you said, I also noticed that. It's funny that you bring it up. It's like, when you look at the original picture, there's like a big shadow like going across the character's face. Yeah. And then with the DLSS 5 upscaling, it's like completely flatly shaded.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe that is one of the reasons that it looks so weird, right? It looks weird if you look at it, right? Yeah. Because that's sort of a thing that happens with filters as well, right? Where the lighting gets all wrong. But then again, it's also like some other people pointed out that it's like, it just changed the characters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the same character.
Yeah.
So that's like, okay, sure, whatever.
And I don't want to see this in motion. I
want to. I like, really want to see this in motion, actually.
Because like, it's very obvious that they picked.
Oh my god, can you? This is like the dream game. I want to see this, okay? It's like on Unreal Engine slop game, right? With like super high res textures. It's running in like 20 FPS with like frame gen, right?
Frame gen on.
Yeah, and then it's upscaled from like 720p to 4K. And then you run the like AI filter on top of that. It's gonna like wobble around like a blob, right? And it's gonna be all like, it's gonna feel like a
I mean, like you just you literally just described you literally just described the average AAA game that's gonna release next year.
That game, I want to play that game right now. That sounds so epic.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
it's weird because like, they're doing all this stuff because they can't, well, not they can't, but like, the technology to actually do it for real isn't there yet, right? And it just makes everything look worse. I don't understand it. Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, but a lot like this sort of goes back to my point that I made earlier about like photorealism and what your priorities should be, right? Because there are older games that don't use these technologies that look way nicer.
Yeah.
And arguably more, in quotation marks, photorealistic than the stuff coming out now, right? Something just doesn't look better just because it's like more expensive and accurate calculation of math that makes lighting or whatever, right? Right, there's nothing more to that, right? That just makes sense, right? Because
right, because we discussed this like a bit before we recorded, where it's like if you look at something like Skyrim, right?
Yeah,
that's like photorealistic for the time. Like it wasn't top of the line graphics, but it's obviously they're trying to go for like realistic graphics at least.
Yeah.
Like and
but you can see like from that era, right, that because they can't quite get there, they do a lot of like they do a lot with colors, right? And I feel like a lot of modern games don't do that because they're they're relying on the lighting. Another example. Sorry, I'll bring up this quickly and then you can continue. Like I talked about Dark Souls before, right? So a lot of people complained about the remaster of Dark Souls 1. Because they redid the like lighting engine, so it used like the modern stuff, and the reason I'm not gonna like the guys that made the remaster, like I understand that it was quite hard for them because like a lot they went from they used what is called like a PBR rendering, whatever. It's like more modern lighting stuff, right? Versus old, like they used like old school like phone style, I think, before, right? But the other point is that like a lot of the lighting of the areas is like baked in like what am I trying to say? Like you go into a forest and it's like they like add green to everything, right? Or whatever, right? And it like creates a very like it's like an artistic mood thing, right? Where it's like everything becomes a bit more green here or whatever. And so in some areas it's actually ridiculous. I don't. Yeah, you did that, like the Blight Town area in Dark Souls, where it's like you walk into a cave green, and it just like gets darker immediately when you go in there, and it looks weird. So they didn't do it perfectly everywhere, right? But the point is that there's like this artistic touch on everything, right? And I think Skyrim has that as well, right? Where it's like the artists have like, it looks almost a bit like I was gonna say fantasy. That is not the term I'm looking for. Like I don't know, not cartoon.
Fantastical.
Say that again.
Fantastical.
Yeah, or like the colors are like oversaturated. Like you can, not cartoon, but whatever. Yeah, whatever. Sorry, now you can continue, man. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, so the reason Skyrim is interesting, I think, is because it's like it's very generic graphically, right?
Yeah.
But it looks pretty decent, and if you compare that to the new Oblivion remake, right, that released last year, I think, that looks like one of those Unreal Engine stock games.
Yeah.
Like it's a little bit better than some of them. I do think the Oblivion remake looks better than something like Clair Obscur. But it's still, you still see that it's clearly like a stock Unreal Engine game. And I think if you compare Skyrim to the Oblivion remake, Skyrim looks way better, in my opinion. Even though it's way less photorealistic, right? And so if they had remastered Oblivion in the Skyrim graphics engine, it would have looked way better, in my opinion. And I find it interesting. Because, like, obviously the Oblivion remake is using a bunch of, like, the new stuff, and
remakes are hard, right? We've talked about this before, because, like, the point, like, people argue, like, oh, why are you making a remake if you're just making the same game? Well, it's like, because games are not like other mediums, you need to actually update them so they can run on modern stuff. That's why you do remakes, not because you want to reimagine whatever they made, right? It's because you can't play the game that was released on, like, PlayStation 1 anymore, because they don't sell PlayStation 1s or the game anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess they like get stuck in this like, oh yeah, we need to do the latest graphics, and then they do it, and it looks trash because
although
they
in
used
their
Unreal
defense,
Engine 5
those games
stock
you can play
options.
still, right? Like they're available on PC and stuff. Maybe they are a little bit wonky or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not too picky about stuff like that. I don't know. Like if I want to play the old game, I'll just go play the old game. It's like,
yeah,
it doesn't feel like a modern game. Yeah, well, go watch.
It's not.
Go watch our episodes about like stuff earlier. I don't know which ones, like clunky games and stuff. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Like all games are not supposed to feel the same way. That's not the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. There is, unless you wanted to say something more.
I don't know, maybe, but continue. We might.
Yeah, well, there is one more topic.
Ooh, okay.
I want to bring up today, which might be a controversial one. It will probably be a little bit controversial.
I might weigh a bit against you. We'll see. Go ahead.
And that's pixel art.
Yes.
Now, pixel art is very popular among indie games and even some more higher budget games nowadays. And I understand why. Yeah. Like I completely understand why games choose to do it, because it's easy to do and so on.
Can I say one thing there?
Yeah.
We talked about cost stuff earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pixel art, like you said, I mean, obviously it's nostalgia and stuff as well, but I think that part, for some reason, people like subconsciously or whatever realize that this is an aspect of pixel art, which is this thing that we mentioned in the beginning with like you can get away with a lot, right? Because there's so much imagination, right? Yeah. So it's like your animations can be pretty bad, right? And it's still believable, and like you can draw a very ugly house and it's still believable that it's house, and it doesn't even need to be proportionately right, because like everything is so blocky and big, right? Yeah. And that makes it way easier to sell the the thing we said earlier, right? So sorry, continue. Yeah, well, as you said, it's like it's very understandable why pixel art is so popular. Yeah. I do have a problem with pixel art, and it's not all pixel art, I will say. Yeah. There are pixel art games that I do think look really good, but there is a problem with a lot of pixel art games, which is that they are genuinely like unclear and like hard to look at. And I think this is especially bad actually for pixel art games that try to look good, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so my favorite example of this is Blasphemous, like the 2D Souls-like game. Like that game is genuinely hard to like play for me, because it's like there's something with like the pixel art that makes, because the pixel art looks very good. Like there's obviously very talented artists that have worked on that game. And like when I looked at pictures of the game, I was like, wow, this game looks really good and so on. Yeah. But when I actually played the game, like it was very hard to see what was happening, I guess. Yeah. And it's not only that game. Because that game has high pixel count, and I think that's one factor that makes it hard to look at. Generally, high pixel count pixel art games are a bit like more unclear in my opinion. But there are a lot of like especially games where depth matters, pixel art is very problematic to me. Yeah. I think there's ways around that with like outlining stuff and stuff. Yeah, that makes the pixel art look worse, I guess. So if you're having nice pixel art. And so one game that I wanted to like bring up as an example of like good pixel art is Baba Is You, right? Because Baba Is You has a very limited color palette, and I think that's also one of the factors that makes a lot of pixel art hard to look at, that they have way too many colors. And like Baba Is You is very, very limited in its color palette. It's like the background is completely black, and then Baba is white, and then there's like a few red things, a few gray things, and like that's it. Yeah. And it's very like flat,
and it's very easy to read. And like obviously that's a puzzle game, so it doesn't actually matter that everything's easy to read. But like, if I saw an action game with Baba-Is-You graphics, I would be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna play this, right?
Interesting. I would disagree there.
You would?
Yeah, because...
okay, why?
So I have, like... I see the issues you're saying there. They're not as big for me with, like, Blasphemous and stuff. My biggest issue with pixel art is the fact that it does not... so essentially the pixel count is not high enough. So when you're moving, like, so in a puzzle game or something like that, or a strategy game, everything is cool. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's super nice. But in an action game, the pixel count actually makes the movement sometimes not smooth enough, in my opinion.
That is a good point.
And since I'm also I'm very fond of high frame rates. That does not work at all. Like, you can't, like, if you go up to, like, maybe you can do 120. I mean, you can do it higher, but, like, the point is, how should I say this? Like, okay, I'm gonna try to explain what I'm saying so people understand, because I think you get it, but, like, whatever. So, like, the slowest speed you can move is 1 pixel per frame, right? Which means that at 60 hertz, the slowest speed you can move is 60 pixels per second, right? Which means that the slowest speed to cross the screen in a, like, 300 pixel game is math. What's that, like 6 seconds? It's not 6 seconds, it's less than 5 seconds, right? So you can't make something move slower than 5 seconds across the screen at 60 FPS. So at 60 FPS, it's sort of fine, right? But the problem, like, if you do 120, which I think most games should do, you immediately run into this issue, right? Where now it's half that, right? So it's like 2 or 3 seconds. And that's way too fast, right? We're talking, like, if you want to scroll the background or whatever. Like, that's a common thing you'll see in pixel art games, right? Where the background will, like, jitter, right? It will move like, right, right? Because the steps for the background is too small, and maybe they're like, if they know what they're doing, they're like store the like intermediate position correctly, right, in like a floating point or something. Sorry, math, like less than 1 number, right? But they'll draw it on the pixel because it should be aligned to pixels, is what pixel art say, at least, right? So my point there was just that, like, in motion, it's sort of okay at 60, but as soon as you go over 60 FPS, it kind of falls apart, in my opinion. And you can't do any, like, nice motions. It has to be linear, because, like, if, like, those cameras that, like, move fast at first and then slow. You can't do that, right? Because it's not. Like, you don't have the precision to move it slowly at the end, right? And so I think those things, like, add up to me, at least, right? Because I care about the smoothness of the gameplay, and then, like, so I don't like pixel art for action at all.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that I like pixel art for action either. But I do think that's a good point that I hadn't thought about. Maybe, like, the main problem is, like, the limited palette, right? Or the not limited palette. So it's like, if there is a high pixel count, but there's, like, clear distinctions between the colors, it's fine, right? Well, the problem for me is that, like, okay, there's this pixel is brown, and then the pixel next to it is like slightly lighter brown, and then the one next to that is, like, even slightly lighter brown, and it's like it all just, like, looks like a weird blob, and it's completely unreadable to me. But maybe I'm weird.
No, I think you're correct, but I think I'm not completely sure that's because of pixel art. Maybe I don't know. I'm just speaking now, right? Because the thing is that people that don't do pixel art, they generally do simpler art styles that have more clearly defined, like let's say Hollow Knight, for example, right? It's it's basically a stick figure. Not to be mean to the, like, it looks pretty okay, but you know, right? It's not very, like, it's a very simple, very flat shape, right? So it's very easy to read. But I can imagine, like, if you did what those, like, let's say you draw these like super detailed pictures that you basically, you can't see the details even on, right, at the correct, when you draw it on the screen, and they're all in the, like, you know, it's like all these nuances of or like shades of like brown or something, or green, and then you have the background, it's the same, right?
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be hard to read as well, right? So it might just be a like a I was gonna say skill issue, but like obviously they're good at drawing.
Yeah,
but there's
they're good
the
at art,
skill
but
issue
like,
in terms of like reading the gameplay, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe, I don't know. Like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is, because like there is also something about. I think it could be like you know, we said about like how that pixel art is like jitter in motion or whatever, and it's like aligned, and maybe that also adds to it, right? Where it's like it's like you have all these blocks, and your brain is like picking up the blocks, and because there's so much detail, it gets like like it gets messed up because everything is like blocks, right? So there's not enough detail to where you can see what things are, but there's too little detail, or like you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is something there for sure. But I'm also like, I prefer the more like towards the like Hollow Knight or whatever style, where
me too.
like it ties back to like what we said in the beginning again, right? I want to make this like super clear, right? For me, I get that people want different things out of the graphics, but for me, like the readability and like simplicity of the, like, the graphics doesn't have to be simple, but my point is that if the graphics are more like, what am I trying to say? Like, games are about like the different elements of the game, right? Like the enemies and the whatever, right? And so if they are very distinct but simple, that's good, right? Because it's like, I think like Hollow Knight, for example, does this really well, where it's like, oh, they're these very distinct bugs, right?
Yeah,
they look very distinct. It's not like, oh, we're in this lore of like medieval fantasy and everyone is a knight or whatever, and everyone, you know, and they have like different, like they're all very detailed, and they have some like differences, and you need to,
and everything is a shade of brown.
Yeah. I mean, it looks really cool, but for the gameplay it's bad, right? I prefer it's like, well, this like, you have this very fat bug with a big hammer, and then you have like this tiny, you know, like mosquito thing, right? It's very like glance value or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Like this is completely unrelated to indie stuff, but like a good example is like Team Fortress 2 or whatever, right? Where like it's very the characters are comically like their proportions are comical, right? And the reason for that is because they're very readable, right? You don't even need to see, like, you can see them in black and white and see who they are, basically, right? And I think they actually did some of like tests like that for the characters.
Yeah.
And so like that's what I value, and that's why I want graphics to be like that. Is my point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually I came up with an interesting example here, and that's Mirror's Edge, right?
Yeah.
Because Mirror's Edge does photorealistic graphics, or well, photorealistic for the time. Slightly stylized, maybe.
I would argue it is stylized completely, but it's like using modern stuff, right?
Yeah, okay, maybe.
But it's fine. You can keep going.
But it looks good, right?
Yeah.
And it's like quite detailed. But what they do is that they have a very limited color palette, right? So basically everything is white or like gray or something like that, with exception for like all of the climbable and interactable stuff. That's red, and that's like very nice because it becomes very obvious. Like as you said, like the at a glance value of everything. It's like at a glance you can like turn a corner in Mirror's Edge and you can see, okay, I can like swing on that pipe, I can run on that ramp, I can run on that wall, I can do whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Just from like the colors.
Yes.
So I think maybe that's like the most important thing, that like it's readable, right?
That's actually I have to bring this up now because you mentioned it, because it's like it's funny because older games had this for free, right? Because they were simpler, right? They'd make like a red box, like you said, or whatever, right? Because they didn't try to be photorealistic. But modern games don't, right? A lot of modern games have issues with this, right? And then they add the yellow paint, right?
Yeah, true.
And the thing is that I haven't thought about it before, but I think one of the reasons why it works so poorly is again because of the like photorealism thing, right? Because it's like it's trying to look realistic, and it's like your brain doesn't buy the fact that there's like yellow paint all over the mountains, right? Whereas if it's like you're playing Crash Bandicoot and the block that explodes is red or whatever, that makes sense, right? In terms of like the cartoony style.
Yeah,
That's
true.
Interesting thing. So that's another reason to not make it photorealistic, right?
Yes.
You can watch our episode about yellow paint if you wanna. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We've been speaking for a while. Do you have anything else you want to share with the world?
Yeah, I guess I would say the final thing is like, for me, this is for me, right? Gameplay first. Okay, gameplay is the most important. Graphics are important, but make them simple, make them clear, make them stylized, right? And like I know to some people maybe stylized means like cartoon. It doesn't have to be cartoony, right? Whatever, do something, and don't overthink it. And also, it's good for gameplay. Like if stuff are not too expensive to change, right? If the graphics are simpler, you can change stuff in the gameplay later in development, right? Whereas if it's like, oh no, everything's photorealistic, it's bad. So basically, that's the takeaway I want. That was my final thing I want to say, right? The takeaway should be like, be more creative artistically with the graphics. So like, pixel art is fine, but there's a lot of pixel art games. I want to see more other stuff. Realistic is not nice at all. I don't like it. Yeah. I don't know. That was a very bad summary, but whatever.
I agree. Readability first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And stop like AAA studios. Stop like killing yourself economically by like pursuing graphics because people don't have good enough computers and stuff. Yeah, you get it. So yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. As usual, please leave a like or a dislike and a subscribe and a comment and all that. And if you have any topic suggestions, anything you want to hear us rant about, let us know in the comments. Thank you for listening, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.